Welcome back. I'm in Johannesburg again. This time for two events that's happening. One, it is Intersex Day of Awareness, or Intersex Awareness Day today. So I'm here for an event for that with Iranti. And then secondly, I am also emceeing or hosting an event / panel discussion for Vodacom. Yeah. Bloody hell, I haven't had enough coffee today. It's like what, 1 o'clock? And I'm like super drained and super tired, and I'm feeling like I'm needing this like giant coffee, which is like the size of my face right now, and just need to shove it in because okay, let me just apologize that it is really noisy here. I'm like at the place where like the Ubers like pick you up and stuff, so there's like traffic going up and down. Anyway, oh my god, today is Intersex Awareness Day, and Iranti is hosting a sort of hybrid online and in-person event to talk about intersex healthcare with doctors and with intersex rights. Can't say that. Intersex rights activists. Yeah. Now on this channel, we have focused a lot on sort of trans rights and trans visibility and stuff. Today, as part of sort of Pride Month and stuff, we are going to dial in a little bit of focus about what it means to be intersex. Coffee is really good. I got to call an Uber and get to the office.
Firstly, thank you so much to all of our guests who are here with us in person. We really appreciate your presence. It was after hours, but we really enjoyed having you with us in this space. To everyone who's joining us online, thank you so much for being with us as well. We hope that you will participate in the conversation. I think it's going to be a really robust and exciting.
Okay, the weather in Johannesburg is pretty nice today, except that there's this like haze in the air, and I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm not going to complain again, I swear, on this channel about how much I dislike Johannesburg, but can I just say that the air pollution here is very real. Well, anyway, back to the focus of this video. It is Intersex Awareness Day, and I honestly don't think that there is enough intersex visibility in the world currently. To sort of explain what it means to be intersex in a nutshell, the best way that I can describe it is what it is not. So whereas being trans is very much focused and orientated around your gender identity, which is your internal sense of who you are as a person as it pertains to, masculine, feminine, right? Intersex refers specifically to your biology. So if you're still a little bit hazy about what gender identity means, we've covered it extensively on this channel, so I'm going to drop it in the description of this video to another video that you can watch that will sort of give you a nice overview, and then also sort of in-depth info about what do we mean when we talk about gender identity and trans identities. So whereas being transgender specifically refers to your gender identity, being intersex means referring specifically to a variation in your sex characteristics. So in biology, we have a number of markers that effectively indicate to a greater or lesser degree whether a member of a species is strictly male or strictly female in sort of these sex binaries, right? And so these markers include things like your gonads, your hormones, your external genitalia, your genetics, etc. And so these are sort of the markers that we use to determine biological sex. Now, for many people on the planet, they fall very strictly into these binaries of what it means to be male and female. But for a lot of people, they don't strictly fall into those. And that's what we refer to as being intersex. So in a nutshell, that's what it means. It means that if you are born intersex, it means that you have variations in your sex characteristics, whether it's one of them, whether it's multiple of them, that you are more genetically diverse as it pertains to your biology in terms of being strictly male or strictly female. Yeah? Does this make sense? Like, I'm trying to keep things as, rudimentary as possible without trying to get too complicated about the in-depth stuff about biology, because that's not really useful here. Now, the reason for a day like Intersex Awareness Day existing is a similar sort of story as to why we have these other kind of visibility and commemoration days for queer people, because historically and still today, queer people, and in this case specifically intersex people, face incredible violence, stigma, and discrimination. So where the queer community sort of have commonalities is usually around their gender identity, so whether you're cis or you're trans or you're non-binary or you're fluid, or your sexual orientation, which is whether you're gay, bi, straight, etc. Those two things, gender identity and sexual orientation, have nothing necessarily to do with your biology at all. But being intersex does. The sort of knock-on consequences around violence and discrimination isn't necessarily only around sort of social things that are an issue, but also because of the medical violence that intersex people continue to face. And it is horrifying. Like, if you are an intersex-born child, you are often, if not always, the subject of what is effectively medical torture. So doctors, physicians, surgeons will often perform these surgical procedures on visibly intersex people to try and correct them in a specific way. And so that occurs without any kind of informed consent. And in this country, in South Africa specifically, which we are also signatories to the human rights, the UN human rights stuff, that children also have the same rights as adults. And so you also require consent from children to, perform medical procedures on them, right? And so because children, particularly like very young children and infants, can't necessarily give that kind of consent, that decision then gets deferred to parents. And so what often happens in hospitals all around the country, all around the continent, all around the world, is that parents aren't given the correct information to make decisions about their intersex-born children. And then they have all these wild and torturous medical procedures performed on them. And there is something in me that just, like, I shudder, like, just at the thought of it. It is incredibly, incredibly difficult if you are intersex in this world, because one, that medical torture is something that nobody should ever experience in their life. But two, that large part of our world is still very apathetic and very much in the dark about intersex issues. Yeah. That said, there are a number of organizations in South Africa, including a number of queer organizations, as well as the United Nations, have now, I guess, had a very, very strong push to bring intersex issues and intersex rights to the fore, because for the longest time there hasn't been visibility for it. And so now we're sort of seeing these events. We're seeing activism. We're seeing changes in policy, in legislature around the globe to sort of bring those rights around bodily autonomy and consent back into the conversation, specifically as it pertains to intersex people. Now, there's only so much I can say about intersex issues in a short YouTube video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link to this discussion that I am here for in Johannesburg, that Iranti is hosting. My friend Crystal is hosting this conversation with medical doctors in conversation with intersex rights activists to sort of talk about intersex healthcare and what that sort of looks like in a South African context and what that looks like on the continent and in the region or the globe. Yeah. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what it means to be intersex and the sort of issues that they face, particularly in the medical sphere, go and check that video out in the description below. Without necessarily trying to make these issues like about myself, I think this is part of the reason why I really enjoy the work that I do. In particular, working with NGOs, with queer organizations, with companies who have a sort of focus on advancing queer rights, advancing queer visibility. Like, the world needs this. I feel like I'm in the right place finally in my life to be able to bring stories like this to you that you otherwise might not necessarily have access to, and sort of raise visibility for trans, intersex, and like queer people, not just in this country, but like around the world. And this is amazing. Also, as a complete side note, the daily vlog is going to make a comeback. This year, in December, we are doing Vlogmas. I have made that decision that we are definitely going to do that. And so I'm really, really excited for that. So go ahead and, hit that subscribe button and turn the bell on for notifications so that you are in the loop for when we upload videos and stuff. And there are many, many, many more to come. I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.